It's a pleasure to be back again with our partners at ATR. Today we have a very special guest, Artem, who is coming to us from Kyiv. He is a teacher, and I'm sure he has a lot to share with us. Artem, welcome to the program. Share a little bit about what it is you do.
Thank you for inviting, Father. So actually, I'm dealing with languages and translations. I've been teaching English and French a little bit for already more than 15 years.
Wow.
So working both with adults, teenagers, and teenagers. So mostly languages.
So I'm sure you have a lot to share about what happened during the invasion of Ukraine, the migration of people leaving your business, the kids, the young people, the adults. Tell us a little bit about that experience, because I don't think many of us worldwide in this century can actually relate to what you folks have gone through.
So sure, after the start of the invasion, the Russian troops, they were advancing pretty quickly towards the capital of Ukraine. For sure, there was a pause in our life. The life was at a standstill. A lot of people left the city, and it was really deserted. All the business stopped. Yeah, there was literally nobody in the streets. And as you know, a lot of people immigrated. And as far as I know, about 8 million people are still living in Europe.
Wow.
And it definitely officially registered in Europe of Ukrainian refugees. And some part of people has already come back. And now actually the situation in the city, you don't feel the war that much, because there are a lot of IDPs, people who came from other regions of Ukraine, those regions which are closer to the front line, to the battlefield. And now it's pretty vivid. But at the beginning, for sure, it was difficult.
Yeah, we remember seeing, and that, again, it's more than a year now, but we remember seeing pictures, which we hadn't seen since probably World War II, where people, thousands and thousands of people were on trains leaving the cities, leaving Ukraine in order to save their lives. And we saw women leave with their children, husbands staying. How did that affect, your business? It must have been destroyed initially. Tell us about that.
Yeah, sure. So it was so our business, mostly before the war, we worked offline. So we had groups, so we had individual lessons, but people came to our premises. But of course, after the start of the war, when everybody left, so there was nobody, and we had to refuse. We were renting the place, and everything moved to online, but with time. So the first month, it was just completely at standstill. There were nobody. Sure. And after that, step by step, it started to revive.
Well, how about the teacher, you? You had to remain steadfast in your work. The role of the teacher, I believe, is extremely important in today's world. We don't give enough emphasis to the importance of the teacher. So you, as a person, how did you fare through all this? It must have been difficult for you.
I stayed in Kyiv at that time, and actually we've never left the city. So together in the family, we decided to stay here. And after the start, when students started to come back, it was pretty hard because, everybody was nervous, if it's possible to say so. Everybody was depressed. There were a lot of different stories, and many people kind of lost their relatives, especially those people who were in the regions. Yeah. So it was pretty hard, and the job of the teacher is part of the job of the psychologist. So you have to listen to, yes, and mostly you have to listen. So we kind of went through this.
You made it through.
Yep.
And you are an Orthodox Christian, is that correct?
Yeah, I am.
So tell us about how your faith was either strengthened or challenged during this difficult time.
I cannot say that my faith was challenged. So probably it strengthened. Yeah. So I cannot say that I have some doubts or something. No. Maybe my faith in different institutions changed, because after the start of the war, we all know how the people who belong to the Russian church, to the Moscow Patriarchy behaved and what they said, etc., etc. So, and I think I'm not the exception. So the image of the church, of the Russian church, changed in the society.
Sure. Well, there's an old saying, you divide and you conquer. And that's a very, very dangerous thing, especially when you're dealing with individuals and you're dealing with their souls. We heard from others previous to yourself, soldiers who were also pastors, who would go into the foxholes and pray and hear the confessions, maybe even do marriage ceremonies for individuals. So it's been a very tough time for all of you. But we are, those of us outside, I mean, you have to be in awe of the way in which the Ukrainian people have not only consistently lived, but now lived up to this challenge that has come to us. Tell us a little bit about some of the students. Can you share, without giving their names, of course, can you share a little bit of maybe one or two stories about students that have come to you?
So I have plenty of them. After the start of the war, probably 70–80% of the students, they are abroad. So they are Ukrainians who left. Yeah, and about 20% are those guys who stay here, either in Kyiv or somewhere around Ukraine. So, like, why do they study? Those who are abroad, naturally, they want to brush up their language in order to be able to communicate and somehow to adapt in the society, in the new society where they are. Those who are here, they are studying either to be able in future to leave the country, or they are looking for jobs somewhere in international companies which are still present in Ukraine, or they want to work distantly. This.
Okay. Finally, just let me ask you, what are your, let's say, some of fears going forward, and what are your hopes going forward?
Everybody here is quite optimistic, like about the victory, about liberation of territories, but at the same time, everybody is a bit pessimistic about the term. So it has already been a year and a half, and everybody, last year was waiting for some liberation, for victory, but it takes time. Unfortunately, it cannot happen quite fast. And everybody is a bit sad about the term, and we understand that probably it will last until next year. Probably today, by the way, is the day of independence of Ukraine, and maybe it will last until the next day of independence of Ukraine. God knows.
We don't know.
Yeah. Fears, there are a lot, because, Russian propaganda works, and after this year and a half, again, nobody knows what to expect. So, like, 1 week we fear that there might be some nuclear, some stuff. Next week we fear that maybe they would attack us again. I mean, like, they would try to attack the capital again. Next week we might fear that some super new missiles are coming or something.
Yeah, that's a horrible way to live. There's no doubt about it. But
yeah,
know that you are all in our prayers. We know that even in America, we live in a post-truth time, where people say the truth, but then people say, well, that's not really true. And they make up their own agendas. And that's a very dangerous way to live, especially for you folks there in Ukraine who are dealing with such trying times. Anything you'd like to say, finally?
I would like to thank you for inviting, for hearing Ukraine, for listening to us, and for sharing information about Ukraine and the world.
Thank you so much. God be with you all.
God bless you. Thank you.